Surprise winners, multiple fuel strategies, tempers flaring, the leader's engine explodes. What more can we ask for? Let's get into this week's race at Gateway.
Everybody likes a winner, right?
Three wide finish.
That was old school ass whipping.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Ooh, let's go racing today, boys.
This week's Enjoy Illinois 300 from Gateway certainly didn't disappoint. Although the beginning of this race may not have been the most exciting, the end of it certainly made up for it. First off, congratulations to Austin Cindric on scoring his first win this year. I really liked what I was seeing from the two team at the start of the season. However, they faded off after the first 4 or 5 races. I'm really glad to see them get this win this week and maybe even be able to build off of this momentum. One thing that this win is going to do, however, is shake up the playoff picture. This gives us our 9th winner of the season. That means only 7 spots are going to be left, and we're only a little over halfway through the regular season. Cindric wasn't one of the drivers most people were picking to win a race this year, and there's also multiple drivers that people would pick that haven't won a race so far. Some of those include Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, and others. I don't think we're going to see 16 or more winners this year. However, with this win, I think that all of the teams are going to realize if they want to guarantee themselves a spot, they have to get that win. This is going to be a very difficult year to point your way into the playoffs. With all that being said, though, let's take a look at the race. As I mentioned, this race got off to a slow start, with Stage 1 being fairly quiet. In Stage 1, the most action we saw was the battle at the end between the 20 of Christopher Bell and the 34 of Michael McDowell. Those two were going back and forth for a while, but ultimately the 20 prevailed and grabbed the stage win. In Stage 2, we saw the action pick up a little bit. We even saw 3 and 4 wide racing near the beginning of the stage. On lap 110, the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. blew a tire but was able to make it to pit road. This is obviously extremely disappointing for the 19 team. They entered the day second in the point standings right behind Denny Hamlin. However, after this, they dropped down to 4th behind Larson and Elliott. Later on in the stage, we also saw the 4 of Josh Berry have a tire go down. He ended up hitting the wall after the tire went down, making him finish at the back of the field today. That was really disappointing for me as well. Josh Berry is a driver who's been doing awesome in his rookie year, and he also excels on these short tracks. I hated seeing his day end in such a disappointing way. At the end of the stage, we saw what's going to be one of the most controversial things from the day. That was when the 5 of Kyle Larson and the 8 of Kyle Busch got into each other going into the turn. Looking back at the replay, what seems to have happened is Larson was side drafting the 8 aggressively down the backstretch. Evidently, Larson may have gotten into Busch a little bit in doing so. Busch, obviously not liking this, decided to door Larson down the backstretch coming to the turn. Because of that, the 8 caused the 5 not to have a good entry into the turn, which got Larson loose up the track, wrecking Larson and the 8. Larson sustained minimal damage and was even able to end up finishing in the top 10. However, the 8 of Kyle Busch wrecked himself out. As I said, I'm sure this is going to be fairly controversial, with some fans saying that it was Larson's fault and others saying it was the 8's fault. I personally feel like it was the 8's fault. I understand the 8 was upset with the 5, and dooring him down the backstretch is fine. However, by messing up his entry, he got Larson loose into the turn and essentially ruined his own day. Kyle Busch is obviously frustrated with the way that this season is going, and I don't blame him for that. However, if he's going to drive like a bat out of hell, he's not going to have any success either. That caution, however, took us to the end of Stage 2, with Christopher Bell gaining the win in that stage as well. With that stage win, that makes it 4 straight stage wins for Christopher Bell. Despite the struggles that team has been having this year, they seem to have found something, and that team has been very fast recently. During Stage 3, with about 43 laps to go, we started to see green flag pit cycles. This pit cycle was where the race really started to take a turn. One car that ended up having an unusually fast pit stop was the 12 of Ryan Blaney. We'll talk about that later. With 18 laps to go, Ryan Blaney and Christopher Bell were going back and forth battling for the lead. Right at that moment, Christopher Bell came over the radio to his team and said that his car was blowing up. Bell immediately started falling back, giving the lead to the 12 of Ryan Blaney. Later, as Ryan Blaney was coming to take the white flag, their short pit stop came back to bite him. The 12 ran out of fuel just as he was taking the final lap, and the 2 of Austin Cindric passed him. Cindric went on to take the win, scoring his first win of the season and his first win since his rookie year. I feel really bad for Ryan Blaney and Christopher Bell, particularly Ryan Blaney. That being said, you couldn't have scripted this to be any more exciting than the way that it played out. I particularly feel bad for Ryan Blaney, though. Blaney did everything that he could do to win this race and should have had that win. He was obviously angry after the race, and I understand. His team gave him no indication over the radio that he should have been saving fuel. And him being only one lap short of having that win, he most likely would have been able to save enough fuel for him to be able to score the win today. On top of that, Larry McReynolds noticed that his team only put 1 can of fuel in the car while other teams were putting 2 cans. Obviously, the strategy almost worked out for them. However, I can't imagine how frustrating and disappointing this has to be for that team. Ultimately, like a number of other races this year, I thought it was a decent race with an amazing finish. And for a short track, I'll take it. This is one of the most exciting short tracks we've seen this year. There's a couple of drivers I want to shout out from today's race. The first one is Brad Keselowski. Brad scored a 3rd place finish today, making his last 3 finishes second, and 3rd. If he continues this kind of success throughout the rest of the season, he's going to put himself squarely in the championship conversation. My next driver that I have to shout out is Carson Hocevar. Carson scored an 8th place finish today, making it his first top 10 of his Cup Series career. Although there have been some ups and downs throughout his rookie season, I've been really impressed by what he's been able to do this year. Now that we've talked about the race, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Kyle Larson is still yet to receive a waiver for missing the Coca-Cola 600. Not only that, but rumors are starting to come out that NASCAR is seriously considering not granting him a waiver. This is an extremely complicated situation for NASCAR. They've never really had to deal with this situation. Although we've had drivers miss races, whether it be for medical reasons or even suspensions, we've never had a driver completely decide to skip a race potentially and drive for another racing series. Although Larson was trying to get back to Charlotte, he prioritized the Indy 500 after saying that the Coca-Cola 600 was going to be his priority. I really think that is NASCAR's biggest holdup on granting him a waiver. They were under the impression, as most NASCAR fans were, that Larson would be at the Coca-Cola 600 if there were any chance that he would have to miss it. However, once he got to Indianapolis, he immediately changed his tune and said that he was going to be staying in Indy. Which, from Larson's point of view and the point of view of Hendrick Motorsports, I understand that decision. They've put a lot of time, energy, and money into making this happen. However, NASCAR doesn't care about what time, money, and effort another team has put into another racing series. They have every reason to be selfish in this situation. This is one of their drivers and one of their teams have a responsibility to NASCAR and to NASCAR fans to be at all of their races like they've agreed to. And if not, there are repercussions for that. Ultimately, I still believe that NASCAR is going to grant him the waiver. If for no other reason, because it would be a political nightmare if they didn't. If NASCAR doesn't grant Larson the waiver, Hendrick Motorsports as a whole is going to be furious. Hendrick fans as a whole are going to be furious. Even non-Hendrick fans are going to be furious, because if they do this, it's going to put a huge asterisk on this season. Larson has been dominating so far as consistency goes. He is still second in the point standings despite missing an entire race. It's extremely possible that if NASCAR does this, he could go on to have more points, the same number, if not more wins than any other driver, win in Phoenix, and still not be the champion. That is going to look really bad for NASCAR as a whole. But what do you think? Do you think NASCAR is going to give Larson the waiver or not? Also, be sure to let me know what you thought of this race. While you're at it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Make like Christopher and hit that bell so you can get notified on all of our latest NASCAR content. I appreciate you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.